It's a special edition of our First NBC Bank video update. Lenny, Vangilder, Ken Trahan with you. We continue previewing the high school football playoffs. And Ken, the calendar's turned to December. We are entering the dome phase of things, at least on the select side. The non-select teams have one more game to win if they hope to reach the pinnacle, if you will, of their opportunity to reach the dome. And so we're going to start on the non-select side today, or rather the select side, I should say. The 4 championship games on what will be a marathon. Eddie Bonine said it Tuesday at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club. Get there early, stay late, and enjoy the action. So it figures to be a long day. One most interest here in the New Orleans area, the Division III matchup between district rivals Riverside and St. Charles Catholic. Last one out of St. John Parish Friday afternoon. Please turn out the lights, huh?
Well, you hope so, because the time is terrible and the day is terrible, and it's just really unfortunate. Say it all the time, but we'll say it again. This is just not the way it's supposed to be, and if this continues down this road, it wouldn't shock me down the road of teams elected to play on campus for these championship games, because it's simply not fair to these schools playing at 10 in the morning or 1:30 in the afternoon, even 5 in the afternoon to a degree. And, of course, the one that's playing the late game is competing with semifinal games around the state. So I don't think this was the idea at all. That said, rematch game, Riverside won the first one 35-14, and it was not really competitive. First half, Riverside blew out St. Charles Catholic. They played better, did the Comets, in the second half, and that's what Frank Monica's hoping to carry over this time. You can't sell St. Charles Catholic short. They went to Crowley and beat Notre Dame. Enough said. That said, Riverside is the better side, and they should win the game.
Well, it's only got to be for one day, just like Wayne Reese from McDonough 35 said. You only got to be better for one day. We'll get to that in just a moment. Now, we mentioned the other 3 games all involve teams from outside the New Orleans area. So let's start in Division 4 with the 10 a.m. matchup. And even though Southern Lab is the lower seed, I think everybody thinks they are the favorite in this game.
Well, they're the defending champion, and they play a really, really difficult schedule, and they've got athletes everywhere, Division I athletes. Ascension Episcopal's had a tremendous year, and they had to beat Central Catholic for a second time to get here, and you can't undersell that. They're undefeated. They're legitimate. They earn the number 1 seed. This might be a little bit better game than people think, but there's no question in my mind that the Kittens are the favorite, and I expect them to win the game.
Division II, St. Thomas More, Parkview Baptist. Saw that last year. This year it's 3 against a 5. And one of the interesting things, by the way, there are no 1-2 matchups, we should mention, in the 4 finals that will be played Friday in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. But getting back to Division II, Parkview, St. Thomas More. Parkview coming off the win here in the New Orleans area last week against De La Salle.
Well, it was a great game last year. Parkview Baptist won in the fourth quarter, back-and-forth affair, 2 evenly matched teams, 2 extremely well-coached teams, and, of course, everybody following Coach Hightower to see if he can get that elusive first day championship, much like Dale Weiner did a year ago with Catholic High. So a lot of people are pulling for him. No idea how much longer he's going to do this. He's a tremendous coach. He can do it as long as he wants based upon the way his team is playing. But, of course, Parkview Baptist looked just lights out in their victory in Metairie over De La Salle. Beat them by 20, and it was all that in a game that we had at SportsNOLA.com. So right now the Eagles are playing extremely well. They played an unbelievably difficult schedule. St. Thomas More has the momentum, and they have the revenge factor. This is going to be another really close game. If I had to give a slight edge to anyone, I'd pick Parkview Baptist.
In the nightcap, which is allegedly going to start at 8:30, but we can take odds on that one, if you will. Does it surprise you that there's not a team from the New Orleans area in this game? We're watching Scotlandville and Evangel play for the Division I title?
Well, yes, it does. We're accustomed to seeing that, obviously. And, I guess I'm probably a little bit more surprised that it wasn't Brother Martin as compared to John Curtis, because Evangel is that good. They're a really good football team defensively. They played a very, very difficult schedule early against 2 lights-out teams. And since that time, they've been a dominant football team, and they dominated John Curtis last week, make no mistake about it. And Scotlandville, you just can't sell them short. 3 coaches in 3 years, and yet here they are undefeated. They're big and strong. They play good defense. They have an exceptional quarterback in Levi Lewis. They've been undersold all year long. I think they've used that, frankly. They keep winning close game after close game, which talks about their character, I think. So if it's a close game, you probably like the Hornets. I'm not sure how close it would be. If I had to make a pick in the game, I'd certainly pick Evangel.
Well, Evangel is the 5 seed. Remember this, in the 3 years of Division I, no one higher than a 5 seed has won the state championship. As good as that division is, you've seen the depth of it over the last 3 years. Now onto the non-select side. It is semifinal Friday. A couple of big games of local interest. Let's start in Class 5A, the Landry Walker-Destrehan game, which you'll have as part of the original Friday night on WGSO Radio.
Yeah, great matchup. Landry Walker, my pick to go to the Dome in 5A from this side of the bracket, and they're playing like it. 61 points at Parkway a week ago after trailing 14-0. They ended the game with a 47-0 run, and Keaton Thompson is simply the best. Tevin Bush is phenomenal, and Devontae Jason's great. They got skill everywhere. The question is the Landry Walker defense and whether it can be as good as its offense. Destrehan, on the other hand, same question. Their offense has skilled players all over the place. Can their defense even slow down Landry Walker? If not, this could be a real score fest, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. Destrehan is used to being here. Steve Robichaux's used to being here, and you can't undersell that. And they're at home. But again, I pick Landry Walker to go to the Dome. All things considered equal, I'd give the Charging Buccaneers a slight edge.
They'll face whoever wins that game faces the winner of Zachary West Monroe. Zachary, the defending 5A champion. West Monroe's been there so many times before. This is also an interesting matchup.
Yeah, Zachary, a surprise. What a great job Coach Burton's done to get this team back to this game again this year after winning it last year. They've lost a player to suspension for eye gouging, so that has to have been a distraction this week like it was for John Curtis last week. And West Monroe was my pick to go to the Dome from this side from day one. I'm not abandoning that. I will go with the Rebels in this game.
As we head on to 4A, the rematch game of District 9 4A, McDonough 35 and Endicott, Berman Stadium, the same site. And again, we'll have it at SportsNOLA.com just like we did 4 weeks ago. Carr won that one going away, and they have obviously blown people's doors off for the most part the last 9 weeks. A rematch, though, I got to see it just being a little closer.
Well, they've scored 50 or more points in every game since week 3. When they beat Brother Martin 55-46, so they're unstoppable. Alden Clark's been tremendous. Santee Marshall's an outstanding running back. Their receivers, Dejon Dixon and Racy McMath, are phenomenal. What else do you want me to say? Their defense has improved. I just can't see them losing this game. And on the other side of the bracket, of course, you got Neville hosting Warren Easton. What a job by Jerry Phillips in his first year at Warren Easton, losing all the players they lost, losing Tony Hall to Kansas, and here they are in the semifinals, which again just speaks volumes about that district. Again, 3 of the 4 teams that are left are from the same district. That said, Neville wins.
3A, couple teams of area interest going on the road trying to get back to the Dome in Lutcher, the defending champion, and Amite, who didn't get a chance to play in this game a year ago, had earned the right to get there, but got taken out of the playoffs. They had to forfeit their semifinal game to St. James because of an altercation at the end of the game in their quarterfinal a year ago. So it'll be interesting to see in both of those scenarios what we have on Friday night.
I see 2 undefeated football teams, West Feliciana and Kaplan, hosting Lutcher and Amite respectively. I see one of the 2 beating an unbeaten team. I think Amite's going to beat Kaplan and get to the Dome. I'm going to go with West Feliciana in the other matchup. They've been knocking on the door the last couple of years, close as close can be. Their defense is exceptional, and they beat Parkview Baptist. That tells you everything you need to know. So I like West Feliciana and Amite.
2A, quick thoughts there. Sterlington goes to Manny. St. Helena goes to Madison Prep. The 2 undefeated teams, 1 and 2 seeds at home. Do they prevail?
Both live underdogs here. Sterlington's better than its record, which is good, 11-2. They play a very tough schedule, and they're used to being here. And St. Helena, I've said it all year, they're big and they're fast. And they expected to be this good this year, and they're there. Madison Prep was my pick to win it all. I've got to go with them in that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's competitive, very competitive. And in the other game, I think it's real close. I think this is one of those games where an upset is really possible, but I went with Manny. Jess Curtis does a great job. He's got a solid team. They're at home. They're expected to be there, so that would be one of those situations where the 1-2 matchup would occur.
And then in 1A, again, 1 and 2 at home in the semifinals. Oak Grove at Haynesville, how much tradition can you talk about in that game? And then Kentwood, the one local team of interest, headed to Logansport.
Oak Grove is not intimidated at all by Haynesville. They're not intimidated to be in this position. Again, a program that's accustomed to being here. But Haynesville has been the chalk this year, and they're on a mission. They lost in the Dome last year in prohibitive fashion to Kentwood. They have a desire to make sure that doesn't happen this year. I like the Golden Tours in that one. Kentwood at Logansport. Logansport's an undefeated football team that's flown below radar. You know, they're south of Shreveport. They don't get a lot of coverage, but boy, they're good. You look at what they've accomplished this year and how they've been able to do it, and you have to be impressed. Kentwood's lost 4 games, but you got to look at who they've played and understand that, again, much like Southern Lab, when you play that kind of schedule, you're going to lose games, but it's also going to prepare you for December. And I like the Kangaroos to get back to a rematch in the Dome with Haynesville.
As Rick Gailey put it on Prep Recruiting Insider earlier this week, assuming they can get there, because it seems like you can't get from Kentwood to Logansport. It really is. Go figure it out on a map, folks. Go look at it. It really is tough. Again, recapping our coverage that we'll have for you, the original on WGSO Radio will originate from the Dome, but Ken will be in Destrehan for the call of Landry Walker at Destrehan, or right here at SportsNOLA.com, we've got the 4A semifinal between McDonough 35 and Endicott. In other words, no other place to go but right here, SportsNOLA.com. And, of course, the best scoreboard you'll find anywhere is powered by the Allstate Sugar Bowl. So no better place to be than right here at SportsNOLA.com to get all your high school football coverage. Ken, it's December. That means we're going to start crowning some champions here finally.
Let's have some fun. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, we will. And that is our special edition of our First NBC Bank video update, as always brought to you by First NBC Bank. Stay right here at SportsNOLA.com. We will have all the prep football coverage you need. And by the way, some prep basketball as well Saturday night with the championship of the CYO tournament.